G'day guys, this is my 1971 Corvette Roadster, and today I created or built a little wiring loom which will enable me to run a Pertronix 3 Ignitor ignition system and the Flamethrower 3 coil. The way I did it today is I used a relay system, and the relay I used was a Bosch 12 volt 30 amp relay with 4 spades. The way the relay works is it requires a lower voltage to trigger it to on, and then you can use the high demand voltage to drive the auxiliaries that you want to drive. So you can use this to drive, for instance, a 12 volt ignition system or maybe a 12 volt fan. And it's great in a system where you don't want to wire it directly to the old 50-year-old fuse box with high current passing through it and potentially causing damage. So here's how I did it. Right, there is the little Bosch relay with 4 spades, and the triggering spades I used the 12 volt window wiper wire, which I tapped into. And of course I need to then earth the other side of this to ground, and here's my ground coming along here, this braided wire, and here it goes down to the bracket that holds on the brake valve. You can just see down the bottom there I cleaned it up and made sure there's a good solid ground and lightly lubricated it. So when I turn on the ignition, what will happen is the windscreen motor, the windscreen wiper motor becomes live. So it's triggered by the ignition, and when it comes live, it turns the relay to on, and then I have 12 volts which I've tapped into my horn relay right here. You can see the other braided wire with red on it running down and around up to here, and then it follows the earth wire I created before down and around up into the relay. And then the other half of this 12 volt, once it goes through the relay, comes out via this black wire here, which is set up to go on the Ignitor Flamethrower coil when I get it. The Ignitor 3 ignition kit is a 2-wire kit, and once I've retrofitted it into the distributor here, 2 wires will need to be connected to the Flamethrower coil on the negative and the positive. The old ballast wire and the solenoid wire, which are on the old coil here, I'll just tie back and cover and hide them somewhere down out of the way, so that if I ever want to revert back to the old points system, I can just put the points in, put the old coil back on, and it'll probably take about half an hour just to reconnect the wires, drop the points back into the distributor, and I normally drive with a dwell meter to set the points, so you can do it all on the side of the road if this modern electronic system was to ever fail. All in all, it's worked out pretty good. I've tested it. When I turn the ignition on, I get a nice solid 12.7 volts from this wire to ground. So I'm looking forward to this Ignitor system coming from the States. Should hopefully be here by the end of the week, and I'll put it in, and what I'm expecting is it'll tidy up a rough idle that I've always had. No matter how dialed in I've had this car, I've always had a little bit of a jittery rough idle, and I've fixed the wheel plugs in the old Quadrajet, so I don't think it's that. I believe it's possibly the distributor shaft maybe is a little bit worn, so as it's rotating, the cam might be moving a little bit, and it's changing the gap of the points, which can apparently give you a bit of a rough idle. So yeah, looking forward to getting it in and seeing what the results are like. Thanks for watching.